Go ahead and begin. I'm sure as breastfeeding moms, you guys know that we carry a lot of stress and tension in our bodies, and that can affect the way that we breastfeed, whether it's our latch or just kind of the energy we are putting off towards baby, right? And also, we know that cortisol can affect milk supply, right? So, a couple things that we're going to talk about today. First of all, yoga means to yoke the mind and the body. So, I think because we live in a pretty Instagram dominant culture, a lot of us have begun to associate yoga with these insane pretzel poses, right? And those are cool, but yoga is never about getting your body into a pose. It is always about the pose getting you into your body, right? There are all different kinds of yoga. There's hot yoga. There's yoga for people in wheelchairs. There's restorative yoga where you just kind of lie down and do different poses that help your psoas relax. There are all different kinds of yoga. So before we begin, I just want to remind you guys that there is a time to work out and build a sweat. And I hope that if that brings you joy, you get to do that. But this is not that, okay? Because we live in a culture where moms are expected to look a certain way or bounce back a certain way, we then go in with these preconceptions about what we need to do after baby. But right now, as moms who are breastfeeding and even beyond, we know that the postpartum stage is forever. The fourth trimester is ongoing. We are always moms, right? And so I want you guys to think about taking care of your bodies, not just in terms of sweating and cardio and working hard, but just taking care of your body as something that you love and as something that you cherish as your friend. Okay? Just like you would love and cherish your little one, I want you to start thinking about your own body that way. A lot of times we think about how to nourish our body through food, right? What we eat, what we drink, what we don't eat, what we don't drink. But what we don't remember, or what we're not really taught, is that we also nourish our body through movements, right? When we live in a culture where we do a lot of sitting and a lot of time on screens, that would kind of be like if we only ever ate red bell peppers and no other vegetable or fruit or protein or grain. It would be like if we just focused in on one nutrient and only ate that thing, right? But we want to eat a rainbow of foods and all different kinds of varieties to nourish our bodies with different minerals and different vitamins. And that's how we want to think about movement. So yes, if you get to work up a sweat or run or do hot yoga or something that's more intense, awesome, more power to you. But I want you to remember that you can nourish your bodies in lots of ways. And one of the best ways that you can heal, both mentally and physically and emotionally in the postpartum phase, is by lowering your cortisol levels. And that's why yoga is all about the breath. The breath is connected to our parasympathetic nervous system and our sympathetic nervous system, right? There's fight or flight and rest and digest. And a lot of us have learned to breathe here in our chest, to take shallow breaths, okay? But we are born with the ability to breathe deeply into our bellies, but we unlearn that typically as children. And especially as little girls or adolescents, we learn to suck in and we learn to try to pretend we have small, tiny tummies. Okay. And in doing so, we learn to hold our breath really tight and we never let go. But when we take deep breaths that allow us to let go and to fully breathe deep into our bellies and round our bellies and be okay with soft bellies, we're breathing in a way that activates our vagus nerve. Okay, it's spelled vagus. We say Vegas. I don't know why. But the vagus nerve communicates to our brain that we are in a state of rest and digest. And this is when things happen. This is when our body is able to maintain things like digestion or cellular repair. This is when we produce liver enzymes, pancreatic enzymes, saliva, or tears. This is when we're able to poop and when we're able to orgasm. This is when we're able to cry. This is when you are able to exist fully human. But when you are in a state of fight or flight, you can only do two things. You can fight or you can flee. And biologically, our bodies are designed that way to help us escape prey, right? So if I was on a hike and a tiger came out of nowhere, my body would go into fight or flight mode. I would either fight that tiger or flee that tiger. And that is a wonderful stress response that helps us survive as a species. Unfortunately, we tend to live in that survival mode. We tend to always live go, 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 and our body is constantly producing cortisol. In fact, your body will take other hormones and convert them into cortisol, like estrogen and progesterone and even testosterone sometimes, to make more cortisol, which means that your hormones, therefore your menstrual cycle, your mental health, etc., really suffer. Not only that, but when we're in a state of fight or flight, we're not able to do things like digest our food or have bowel movements or cry or orgasm, okay? Because our bodies are our friends, and when they think we are in danger, they are going to do everything they can to protect us, right? So when we communicate to our body with shallow breaths or tight jaws or lots of yelling or pumped up anger that's unexpressed, what we are communicating to our bodies is that there is a tiger around, and your body does not know the difference between a tiger and being stuck in traffic, or a tiger and being really upset with your partner. Okay? Fight or flight is supposed to serve us. It's absolutely helpful, but it is not how we are designed to live. So some of these poses, when I say focus on the breath, it's not just because it's yoga, it's because that is how we are designed to live in a state of flourishing, right? Where our body is able to do all of its amazing functions, because our body is always for us. It's never against us. It's just doing what we tell it to do, whether we know it or not. Okay, so we're going to start with some neck stuff because a lot of us carry tension there, whether we're breastfeeding or not. And just a heads up, I am a yoga teacher, not a videographer, so I'm going to be moving back and forth a lot. There's not a ton of editing I can do, but it is what it is. So go ahead and find a comfortable seated position. You can also do this when you're nursing your baby and you know your latch is good to go and you can kind of lay back, or when you're in the car, whatever. I just want you to think about a cord pulling you up towards the ceiling from the crown of your head. So you're lengthening your spine and your ribs away from your hips. And then you begin to just slowly check in with the breath. When you exhale, your jaw is soft. You try to soften your brow, and you try to let your tongue rest on the roof of your mouth if you can. Those are the things that signal to our body that we're in a state of rest and digest. We melt the shoulders away from the ears, and then, still with our long spine, we drop one ear to one shoulder. We drop chin to chest, opening up through the back of your neck. We move on to our other ear. And finally, we drop our heads back, opening up through our throats. Not only do I want you to think about opening up through your throat, but also your collarbone and your pecs and your shoulders. We'll come back through center and you'll repeat that going the opposite way this time. And pause wherever it feels good, or if you feel a little bit of tension, spend some extra time there. Awesome. Coming back through center, this is one of my personal favorites. You're going to bring both of your hands to prayer, and you're still thinking about that cord pulling you from the crown of your head all the way to the ceiling. All of your 5 fingers are going to be engaged, so you're not soft. You're engaged, right, with your hands. This is your energy, and you're connecting right side of the body with left side. With your inhale, you're going to open through the chest and pretend like you're pushing energy behind you. All 10 fingers are engaged. And then when you exhale, I want you to round through your shoulders. Go ahead and curl your belly a little bit. Squeeze the space between your shoulder blades. And then you'll inhale to expand. Pinch your shoulder blades together so you can open up here through the chest. As you push your arms back, you're going to feel the stretch. And then you'll exhale to round down through the shoulder blades. We'll do that one more time. Inhale to expand. Exhale to contract. And you'll come back through center. The other one is just grabbing your opposite elbows behind you, like you're crossing your arms, but behind your back. Okay, so from here, we'll work our way into a reverse prayer, but this is a nice way to warm up. So you'll grab opposite elbows, and as you're doing that, you're going to pull your shoulders open, thinking about a nice long neck and an open clavicle. Okay, and then you'll switch when you feel warmed up. And then when that feels good and you feel ready to try, we're gonna work our way into a reverse prayer. Remember, it's never about getting your body into the pose. It's about the pose getting you into your body. So if this doesn't feel good, or if it's too intense, go ahead and just focus on working into it, not necessarily sticking it, if that makes sense. So your reverse prayer, I like to push my pinkies in towards one another, and then I can bring my palms together, okay? I'm arching my back a little bit to help me, and then if you want, you can wiggle your way up towards your shoulder blades. If it's too much on your wrists, you can bring it back here down towards your mid-back, okay? Whatever feels good. The goal here is just to open up through the front of the body, because as we're breastfeeding, we do so much of this with the back of our body. We want to begin to open up the front as well, okay? So reverse prayer. And then from here, we can work our way into cow face pose. Cow face pose is a funny name, but that is what the translation is from the Sanskrit, okay? So all we're doing is reaching behind us for our opposite fingertips. You'll kick out one thumb down towards the ground, and you'll land that hand behind you in between your shoulder blades like a pancake. I'll turn around in a second so you guys can see. You'll kick your opposite thumb up towards the ceiling like you're giving a thumbs up. And then you're gonna stretch, 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 stretch as long as you can and reach behind you for your opposite fingertips. So it looks a little something like this. Okay, so see how my hands are flat against my back? One palm is down and one palm is up. And as I inhale and come back to my breath and remind my body that I'm safe and I'm in a state of rest and digest, I can begin to open up into my shoulders, into my armpits, and into my pec. And then you'll gently release. You can hold it for as long as you like. I recommend trying at least 5 inhales and 5 exhales. So 5 full breath cycles if you can. And then you'll just repeat on the opposite side. Thumb down between the shoulder blades, thumb up, comes up and over behind you. You'll inhale and exhale for a full 5. You might also find that it's harder to reach your fingertips on one side more than the other. And that can be because of the side you usually carry baby on, or the car seat on, or whatever side you prefer. It tends to be a little bit tighter. Totally normal. That just means that side needs a little extra love. Okay, so we'll kind of keep it simple. That's it for our shoulders and opening up our chest. Next, we're going to move on to our hips, just because we carry a lot of tension here, whether we are breastfeeding or not. Okay, we do a lot of sitting as a culture, and that means muscles begin to shrink because our body loses what we do not use. Okay, you lose what you don't use. That's not because our body is against us, that's because our body is for us. And just like if I'm not in, let's say, the guest room in my house all day, right? I'm not gonna turn the fan on and I'm not gonna turn the lights on because no one's in there, right? I'm shutting that down until it's in use. Your body does the same thing. When we don't use particular parts of our body begins to shut them down in a way because it's trying to conserve energy. The more we use our body and our joints, the stronger we actually get, okay? So I'm gonna move this computer down so you guys can see the hip stretches here. All right, the first one is just your simple butterfly, right? What I care about here is that you guys still have a long spine. You're reaching up towards the ceiling with the crown of your head. And you come back to the breath, right? With each exhale, you're thinking about your knees melting a little bit closer to the ground like a popsicle. And with each inhale, you're breathing deep into your belly, being okay with a round, soft belly. And then once this feels good, you can walk the hands out forward, dropping your head just a little bit to increase the stretch. You can go as far as you want, as far as it feels good. Listen to your body, okay? And then when you're ready, walk your way on up. The next one is called fire log pose. So you are going to stack your shins just like you would stack logs of wood for a fire, right? Fire log pose. If this knee doesn't reach this foot, that's okay. If there's a gap here, that's okay. You can leave it as is, or you can put a blanket or a block underneath, okay? But this right here is what we're going for so we can open up this top hip, okay? So this might be enough of a stretch, but if you want to increase the stretch, you can also walk your hands forward and begin to lay closer to the mat or the floor. And then we'll switch sides. It's important to note that when you are in this fire log pose, try to keep your butt glued to the floor behind you so that you're not rolling forward. As you keep your butt glued down and you walk yourself forward, that tension is what's going to help you open up your hip. And then we'll go ahead and switch sides. So you'll find your long spine. And if your body gives you the green light, you can go ahead and walk your way forward, keeping your bum glued to the floor. And then you'll walk your way back through center. Awesome. Go ahead and kick your feet out in front of you and give them a little shake. We'll go ahead and do a little stretch for our lower back, and then we'll move into our energizing routine or our relaxation routine, okay? But I know a lot of us carry stress in our lower backs because we're holding little ones and heavy things all day. And as when we are pregnant and our bellies are growing, we typically begin to hold our weight like this, right? We adopt the pregnant waddle because as our belly grows, we have to compensate, okay? But ideally, even when we're pregnant, we want a long, nice posture because what this does is it activates and it keeps our core engaged and it helps baby get into the pelvis. But now that baby's here, a lot of times we're holding baby, right, up by our chest and we're still leaning back to compensate. This does not do your lower back any favors, and it actually doesn't help your abdominal walls heal after pregnancy. It actually encourages the stretch between them, what's known as diastasis recti, right, or DR. DR is totally normal. It's supposed to happen. Your abdominal walls have to separate in order for your uterus to grow. But over time, you want them to gently come together so they can hold your organs together with strength and support you and your pelvic floor as you age. But it's hard to do that when we're constantly leaning backwards, okay? So one of the ways we can give our lower back a stretch after we try to stand with an upright posture is cat table or cat cow, right? So we come into an all fours position. We try to stack our joints so our knees are under our hips and our elbows are under our shoulders. And we try to find a long spine. So our head is reaching away from our pelvis and our pelvis is reaching away from our head. From here, we're going to inhale around the shoulders into cat, pushing the floor away. And then we'll exhale into tabletop. Okay, we'll do that one more time. We'll inhale, push the floor away into cat. And then we'll exhale into tabletop. Beautiful. Now, some of you probably know that traditionally we do cat to cow, which means you'll drop your belly, and I'll do that in a minute here. But if you are within the 6-month postpartum range, I would hold off on cow, right? Because your abdominal walls just did a lot of stretching. We don't need to overstretch them. We want them to heal and come back together. So if it feels good in your body after the 6-month-ish mark, you can go ahead and drop your belly. So from cat, instead of going into table, you'll round your shoulders, inhale, and then you'll exhale, lift up your chin, drop your belly, really give it a nice stretch. Inhale, exhale. One more time, we inhale, and we exhale. Really sticking that booty up to give your lower back and your sacrum a break. okay? From here, we're going to walk hands and feet together, and we're gonna grab opposite elbows and hang in ragdoll, okay? So my head is dropped, and I'm rocking side to side. This is gonna stretch out the back of your legs, but really what I want you to focus on is letting go in your back. Allow yourself to hang totally heavy so that your lower back and your upper back get a break. You're still breathing here, connecting to the breath, helping your body stay in a restful state. And then when you're ready, you'll let go of both elbows and just completely hang heavy. Awesome. From here, you can bring your hands to your hips and you can roll up nice and slow, vertebrae by vertebrae, we like to say. Your chin should be the very last to roll up. Awesome. So from your standing position, we're actually ready for our energizing sequence. So I'm gonna prop this bad boy up. Hopefully get a better angle here. We're just gonna do a little sun salutation. If you feel like you need to energize at the beginning of your day or midday or maybe at the end, whatever, this is an awesome sequence in yoga, the sun salutation, okay? So I'll come this way. You're gonna start in mountain pose with your palms facing forward. Your spine is nice and long and your crown is reaching up towards the ceiling. You're gonna bring your hands into prayer and inhale. Gentle back bend. You'll exhale into a forward fold. Trying to touch the floor or at least your toes. You'll come up to a halfway lift. So your hands will come to your shins and you'll try to make your spine nice and long. You'll come back down to a forward fold. And then you'll come down to the mat. So you'll step down to the mat into a lunge. And then if you're ready, you can step down into a plank. Okay, now from here, you can lower into a push-up, right? Lowering down and then scooping yourself up into an upward dog, or you can just come from your plank to your knees. That's totally fine too, wherever you're at. Then you'll stick your bottom up and you'll come into your down dog. Then you'll step back into your lunge. Both feet meet, forward fold, and you gently come back to the beginning of your sun salutation. Okay, so that's for our energizing sequence. All right, so if you want to energize your body, if you want to move through a couple different poses, you can do that as many times as you like. If it's hard to remember which comes where, you can watch this video again, or if you guys Google sun salutation or look on Pinterest, there's lots of cool posters that show you every position. Some vary, it's totally okay. Just do what feels good for your body. But that's my favorite to energize. It's quick, it's easy, it gets me in my body, and it helps me work with my breath so that I start out or finish my day connected to the breath in a state of rest and digest. Okay, we're gonna end with some poses to help relax the body, to decrease cortisol, okay? To help you get into a state of rest and digest if you're feeling overwhelmed, okay? You can do all of these or you can just do one of these, okay? Especially as moms, a lot of times we think we have to have 30 to 60 minutes to work out, right? I want you to think less about that and more about movement snacks. We like to think of movement as meals. We have 3 main meals a day, right? That's not true. We nourish our body all throughout the day with sips of water and snacks here, right? Kind bars, RX bars, ice cream, whatever. I want you to think about movement the same way. If you have a set aside amount of time to work out or to move your body, awesome. But if you don't, do not beat yourself up. You can do these while watching TV. You can do these in between folding laundry. You can do these while you're, I don't know, getting ready to take a bath or a shower and jump in, whatever. Think less about movement meals and more about movement snacks for me, okay? So we're gonna move into our relaxing poses and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so with me, I have a block and a bolster because I'm at the studio, but if you do not have these at home, Two things. One, you don't have to have them. Two, if you want to invest in them, yoga blocks are pretty cheap. You can get them online. You can even get them at like Walmart, okay? So, or you can use like a big book, okay? All a yoga block does is bring the floor closer to your body. That's it, okay? And then for a bolster, you can use like a firm pillow. That's it. You don't have, or you can just stack up some blankets and quilts. Okay, so please don't feel like you have to have these things in order to do these poses. They just help you bring the floor closer to your body so you can totally relax into them. Okay, so my favorite one, well, one of them, is a supported child's pose, right? So child's pose is just a resting pose. The big toes kiss under our bum and we reach forward. Okay, but one of my favorite ways to kick up the relaxation even a little bit more is to do it supported. So you can totally melt into a soft surface. Breathing deeply into your belly, allowing yourself to totally let go and melt. You can have silence, you can have music, you can do this while watching a show or listening to a podcast. Just make sure you relax on both sides for me. All right, so that is a supported child's pose. The next one is a supported bridge pose. And you can do this with a bolster or a block, right? Or your pillow or your book. So a supported bridge pose just means the bottoms of your feet are on the floor and you're supporting your lower back and you're opening things up, allowing yourself to totally melt into bridge, okay? Now, if you want to kick up the heat a little bit, or if you have a book or a block, sometimes what I like to do is take my block, I prop it up, and then I stick it right above my tailbone into a different variation of a supported bridge, okay? This really helps me let go, and this is one of my favorite ways to meditate before I go to bed. All right, same thing, meaning we're using the block. You are going to flip the block onto its flat, long side, horizontal, and this time you're going to bring your feet into butterfly pose. Now, you can do this without the block. You can lie on your back, or you can use a pillow or a bolster, or you can use a block. But the bottoms of my feet are together in butterfly, and I'm resting here in a supported butterfly pose. Awesome. And then you'll gently roll to the side to come on out of it. So those are some of my favorite poses to turn things down, to come back to your body, to chill out, especially after a long, hard day. And again, you can do all of those or just some of those, or you can do combined. Please listen to your body, trust your body, know your body, love it as your friend. I would love to see you at yoga. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a great meeting.